It says we're live on Facebook, although who knows, but my experience has been you are live before you think you are live. So always be careful what you're saying into the mic, ladies and gentlemen, and folks of varying gender expressions. I am Reid Mihalko from readaboutsex.com, and it is my pleasure, my great pleasure, to have a quickie with Crista Reid, who, Crista, I'm very happy when we met that you spell your last name the way that I spell my first name. I feel like we're like, I don't know, butt to face, like a Reid beginning of a human centipede. I don't know.
Well, some of our initial conversations began with lots of talking about butt stuff. So
We did bond in those ways.
We did.
So for my friends and followers who haven't met you before, tell us a little bit about yourself, and then we're just going to dive into a conversation about virtual play parties and an orientation that we have coming up really soon for people who are curious about virtual play parties. So who are you, Crista Reid?
Well, hello everyone. I am Crista, and I am a sex positive pioneer, along with probably most of you who are listening to this right now. I have been hosting play parties in Boulder, Colorado since 2015. And as soon as lockdown started, I had a fundamental need to continue sharing sex positive community and figuring out how to bring that into virtual space. And the moment I canceled my in-person event that was going to be in March, the first very real virtual play party was born before I even knew what that could even look like. And now here we are, months later, still making the expansion, still making bigger laps into what these virtual play communities can look like. And that's what Reid and I are talking to you about today, is broadening that definition of how we create a good container for virtual play and how that's different than in-person play.
Yeah, and how it's different and how it's similar in all these different variant ways. So just thank you. And one, thank you for also inviting me to co-facilitate with you the very real virtual play parties that you've been doing. It's always an honor when people ask or invite me to come and co-facilitate with them, because it's play parties, like in-person play parties, were so important to me and my development and finding a playground to be able to express myself and explore my sexuality and see and normalize all different types of body types, like orgasm face expressions, like people doing things I'm like, ooh, I didn't even know we could do that. Like, let me add that to my like bucket list if I want to try. And then with the pandemic, like I'd never, in all the years since 1999 was my first play party. It was unintentional. My gathering of friends turned into an orgy. And then I was like, all my friends wanted to do it again, but I needed it to be intentional and more conscious. So like all these 20 years now of running and hosting play parties, until the pandemic, I'd never been to a virtual play party. And what was so fascinating and so cool was it opened up a part of a creative self-expression of mine that I hadn't really exercised, because I was having so much in-person sexual expression. I never really went virtual. Like I would sext and stuff with friends, but never had like a virtual gangbang. Like, and then it was like, how do you even do that?
Yes.
And so like since pandemic times.
Totally. We've had at our disposal all this time the potential to be our own personal cam stars whenever we want. And only when we're forced to find these new definitions and ways of operating together do we come together in virtual space through the pandemic.
So also, just since you're like, I don't know that I identify as an exhibitionist, even though people are like, dude, you have sex in front of people all the time. It feels like to me, you're more identified as an exhibitionist, and I'm curious like what the virtual parties gave you, and then if you have advice for other exhibitionists and also shy folk.
Totally. I am, some people know this about me, also the director of Boulder Burlesque, and I perform with that group under the stage name Mademoiselle Tangerine. And being a performer, being on stage, and being in real person space in a play party have all been arenas where I definitely get to celebrate my exhibitionism. I am a huge exhibitionist. And one of the things I love about virtual play parties that's been really freeing for me that I didn't expect is feeling even more space and even more room to just put on a show for folks. I feel like it's kind of intrinsic to the virtual play format where I'm just here by myself. I can watch, but I also kind of just need to figure out what I'm gonna do to turn myself on to be part of this space. And part of what works so well about that is a lot of people who show up in virtual play parties love to be voyeurs and love to watch what's going on their screens. And there's so much space for that too. And my huge exhibitionist self gets to be rewarded and show off for all of those other yummy people who come to indulge in their voyeurism. And we get to see so much of that happening for both sides of that spectrum and for switchy people too.
Mm-hmm. Well, we have a really good question that somebody just typed in. Christine asked, what more does a virtual play party offer beyond performance sexuality? And then also Christine drops in, maybe that's enough. I have my answer, but do you want to give me your answer first?
Go, I would invite you to start.
Yeah. So my answer to like a virtual play party, like what does it offer beyond performance sexuality, is for me as a sex and relationship geek, and also with like friends and lovers all over the world, not being able to travel, because so much of my life was I would schedule events in different cities so I could see my friends. So one, I can't see my friends right now in person, but I could see them virtually. So I started automatically like trying to figure out how to have cyber sex and virtual sex with people, which I'd never really done before. So I was exercising my virtual connection muscles, and also figuring out like what do I find erotic and a turn on when I can't be touching the actual person I want to be touching. So for me, there's like a cascade of things that start to happen with virtual play parties. One, for some people, because I've had people reach out to me being like, I could never be bold enough to go to an actual play party in meet space, MEAT, like meeting in real time. Like I could never do that. Or my partner and we've always been curious about attending an orgy, but we could never. And then now the virtual piece is like, but we think we might be able to come together, or I can come solo to explore because I'm curious about play parties. Maybe I can come virtually. So that's one thing that I think virtual play parties, having never thought about it this way, I'm like, oh, this is a great way for people to actually explore something that maybe they could never explore in person, or they live 4 hours from the nearest city that has a party, although that may not be true. There might be an orgy happening near you more than you think, but in the pandemic, not so much. So there's that, like we can be curious and explore. Then there's I need to get my needs met when I can't see my friends and lovers. And getting together in Zoom or on other platforms to connect and to be sexual with ourselves and each other, like that's been a really fun way of nourishing myself. The other thing that I didn't expect is like I'm meeting people that I've never met before, that I can't wait to meet them in person. So there's like this fun kind of sex geeky networking thing that happens where you get to see people playing and be like, and then like you kind of chat, and then like you connect, and then in the play parties that you and I run, like there are private breakout rooms where you can go to play if you don't want to play in the full play space with all the little Zoom cameras. Um, but like seeing everybody and the different kinds of expressions, and then like how geeky people get with like rubber banding their iPhones to their ceiling fans while the ceiling fan's off so that you have an above the bed camera angle. Like, I'm like, you all are brilliant. So those are some of the things I get out of it that I think are available for people to like check out. That's more than just performative sexuality. And performative sexuality, like I'm getting more comfortable about performing for people, which is something I never thought was really my jam, but I'm kind of getting into it. Like, this is fun. What about you?
I find the phrase performative sexuality so interesting because one of the principal ways I discovered my sexuality was through literal performance.
Mm-hmm.
And
Well,
I
and
hold,
Christine
yeah,
said performance sexuality. I think I said performative, so I
okay,
misquoted.
performance sexuality. Gotcha. So that shifts it. But just speaking to the power that I see in folks stepping into an area that feels outside of their normal comfort zone, outside of their normal safety zone, and being brave in these spaces can be hugely mind-opening. And
Mm-hmm.
the way I see that happening really authentically in these virtual play spaces is, I think Reid, you brushed on this a little bit, but just the different level of what it means to arrive in a virtual space versus an in-person space, where some folks might have barriers around showing up in those meet play spaces, real meet. And in the virtual space, there's, as much as we are still connected, still together, still holding this container with such erotic presence, there's still a different quality of energy in the fact that I am here in my own space, in my own bed, navigating these sexual subject matters, navigating how I'm touching myself. There's a different level of comfort that folks can experience in those ways. And just based on, if you consider set and setting, in being able to set up your own environment, not having to leave your house, it's going to allow different people to access some more intimate parts of themselves in those moments.
Yeah. Yeah, it's been exciting for me, and creating spaces where people don't have to participate. Like, and that now it feels like we're the orientation's starting. So I wanted to keep this quick. This was, a quickie with you. Do you want to give like one like orientation tip that you think would apply to people, be useful no matter what kind of virtual play party? Because there's so many different ways. Like, that's the other thing for me that's geeky, is watching other facilitators, like in the ways that they do their virtual spaces. Like you and Hazel Grace, that was the first time I saw people using multiple breakout rooms and making everybody a co-host so that people can kind of go from different rooms. Like, I thought that was genius and offers something that I hadn't found before in other play party spaces. So what's a good tip that you think would apply to almost any kind of virtual play party space?
Sure. And like you mentioned, this event wouldn't be where it is right now without the phenomenal help of Hazel Grace Yates,
Mm-hmm.
Dr. Hazel Grace, who I had the honor of creating the first virtual play party with back in April. And yeah, just so grateful to her for bringing in some of the fundamental pillars of authenticity and connection and community building the way this event has evolved.
Mhm.
And I would say, to answer your question, Reid, across the board for any virtual play party, wow. Showing up with, like, showing up as if you are showing up, bring what you would bring to an in-person space. Just because you're at home, like I talked about earlier, you still have the opportunity to really set yourself up in a loving and considerate way. Light your candles, have your toys out, have an intention set, and understand what your personal boundaries are going into the event, and acknowledge that those boundaries might change, and that's okay. That's part of consent. But yeah, setting yourself up for a good time by having some pre-established intentions and some goodies set out around you, just like you would bring a big old bag of nesting material to a play space. What are the special things you can take out for yourself in advance of a virtual play party that will allow you to show up most fully in this specially created container that we're working to cultivate together?
Thank you for that. For me, and this is where, this is why it's so much fun to work with you, because I'll just show this to folks. So we're talking about what the orientation is going to be about, and of course, for me, if you all know me,
gotta get
it's
the
like
geek diagram out.
It's got the Venn diagrams.
Yay!
And so the thing I would share with people is like giving yourself permission to come to explore. Here's the deal. Like, the pandemic's not going away. I was listening to some stuff this morning, and it's like, not only did we not get through the first wave, like the wave is now coming. So, like, I think this is a good time to encourage people to come, and I'm not happy with my lighting. There we go. Because I have lighting choices right here. To come practice how you're going to connect with people virtually. And if you're, curious and titillated, come check out a virtual play party, whether it's ours or somebody else's. Like, give yourself permission to go explore. Give yourself permission to leave at any moment. Like, you can always hit the leave button or end the call and just transport yourself back to home. But the idea of, like, understanding and building your skill sets around how you engage virtually with people. Also understanding, like, your tech. Like, I have, because I Zoom and teach online, like, I've got lights and microphones and things that I'm comfortable with so that I give good Zoom. And then there's the confidence and competence of being able to give good virtual play party. Nice. Your ring light's bigger than mine. But the like these are some of the tools that you don't need to have, right? Because some people can't afford all the tools, but so there's a certain privilege in being able to even have Wi-Fi and get online to connect with people. But being bold and courageous and trying something new, where that pays off is you get all this titillation of trying something that you're curious about, but like, now you can figure out how I want to have maybe just a virtual sex date with a friend or a lover. Like, even if you're self-isolating with a partner, they can go in the other room and you two can have cyber sex from down the hall just to mix it up. People who never thought they could actually have a threesome in real space, like, you can start to learn how to be like, honey, like, we could have a virtual threesome with
and we
somebody.
have private rooms where you can do that.
Yeah, so I think this is an opportunity to make lemonade out of lemons right now with how much the pandemic is being chaotic with folks.
I say when life
And
hands you lemons, say, I like lemons. What else you got?
well, I'll
I need
bring some
some
sugar.
lemons
I'll
on my
bring some
body.
sugar. There we go.
Mhm,
There we go.
mhm,
There we go.
mhm.
Now I'm thinking about citric acid in places I don't want citric acid.
Ooh,
But that's
not
not
too
the
much
point. The
rubbing.
point is like building your skill sets around connecting with people, how to feel more competent with tech, and then also how to figure out what kind of virtual spaces really nourish you. Because there's different, like what we were talking about is like there's different designs for events and containers, and then you get to go figure out what makes you the happiest and nourishes you the most. So that's the stuff I'm getting excited about, and watching people experience and watching them have breakthroughs and openings, and then meet people that you might one day be able to fly and go see in person, or there's somebody who lives 20 minutes from you. You never know who you're going to meet. So there. Anything else? I feel like I got
Yep.
overexcited and just babbled on for a minute.
True. Well, we have now babbled for almost the same amount of time as the actual orientation is going to last for.
Okay.
But one of the groovy things about the orientation is we will also have an additional 20 minutes for Q&A with everyone who shows up. So you'll get a chance to talk with us, ask whatever additional questions you might have. And during that Q&A, or excuse me, during the orientation itself, it's really an invitation to become part of this more meaningful, intentional virtual play community. Coronavirus isn't going anywhere right now, as difficult as that might feel, but we have so many phenomenal ways to continue coming together, and I really believe that getting to continue with these virtual play parties has been just so uplifting. It has been one of the really transformational parts of my lockdown experience. So if you've got 25 minutes to come hang out with us tomorrow night at 6:30 p.m.
Tomorrow night or Thursday?
Thursday is 2 days from now.
Yes.
When it's happening.
What day is it even?
Then you can learn how to feel more confident and engaged during a virtual play party.
Mm-hmm.
You can learn the functionality of the tech from our favorite sex geek Reid. And you can learn about the cultural design of this community that's coming together, and we'll be so, so honored to have your presence there. And yeah, this is all in build up for our next virtual play party, which is coming up on August 6th.
Yeah. So come to the orientation, and then we'll share the ticket, the sign up link for the virtual play party. But we wanted to start running little orientations so that people can really figure out if the play party is right for them before it actually, we actually have the play party. And in the future, the attending in the orientation is going to be mandatory for anyone coming to the party, because that's just going to build and weave a better community experience, because we can have shared values and give people space and context for having your learning curves on how you get to be kick-ass connecting with people virtually, and the principles and ideas around like virtual consent and how that applies to like meet space consent.
Thanks, Bonobo Tribe.
Yeah,
Thanks, Bonobos.
William was watching. I saw him comment in the thing. So we will in the orientation, we will point at other play party communities who are doing kick-ass work, because we really do want you all to like go traipse around the internets and meet all the wonderful, fabulous people, so that you can create your own collection of amazing folks that you really resonate with.
Yeah.
Thanks,
It
Crista.
might start with a threesome, but it can become so much more.
Yeah. You don't have to limit it to just 3 people ever. Or you can, like, whatever works for you.
Or it could be one person. It could be
That's right.
always the masturbation show.
Krista, mwah. I appreciate you.
So looking forward to sitting down on Thursday.
Mm-hmm.
I appreciate you so much.
Yay. Share this video with all your friends. And if you have friends that you're not sure how freaky they are, be like, hey, did you see this thing? Isn't this weird? and then just wait and then just see what they what they respond with. Yes, exactly. All right, let's go. I'll see you on Thursday. Crista, thanks again. And thank you everyone for all the comments. I'm going to jump into the comments in a second. Bye. Mwah.